Ever wondered why cats are such picky eaters? This question is one that has likely crossed the mind of any cat owner. And surprisingly, it's a topic that has intrigued scientists as well. In this video, we'll delve into the fascinating world of fussy feline feeding habits. Cats, unlike dogs, are not known for their voracious appetites. Instead, they're often seen as being finicky, turning their noses up at anything that doesn't meet their exacting standards. But why is this? What makes cats so discerning when it comes to their food? As it turns out, the answers are more complex than you might think. From sensory influences to texture preferences and even behavioral factors, there's a whole host of reasons why your cat might be a choosy chowhound. So stick around and let's unravel this captivating conundrum together. As it turns out, our fluffy friends have a few interesting reasons for their selective eating habits. Did you know that cats are obligate carnivores? This means that cats must eat meat to survive. It's not a lifestyle choice or a preference, but a biological necessity. Unlike omnivores such as us humans or dogs who can get necessary nutrients from a variety of food sources, cats have specific dietary requirements that can only be met through consuming animal-based proteins. This is a fundamental part of the science behind why cats can be such picky eaters. You see, the key nutrients that cats need, such as taurine, arachidonic acid, and vitamin A, are found primarily in meat. Taurine, for instance, is an amino acid that's crucial for a cat's cardiovascular health, and it's not naturally occurring in plant-based foods. So when your cat turns up its nose at that veggie kibble, it's not just being finicky, it's instinctively seeking out the nutrients it needs to thrive. But it's not just about what's in the food, it's also about what's not. Cats have far fewer taste receptors than humans or dogs. Think of it like this. If a human tongue is a grand piano with 88 keys to pick up a symphony of flavors, a cat's tongue is more like a small keyboard with only a couple of dozen keys. This pared-down palate means that cats aren't equipped to taste certain flavors, particularly sweet ones. They simply lack the taste receptors for it. It's a bit like being colorblind, but for taste. This lack of taste receptors, combined with their obligate carnivorous nature, means that cats are biologically inclined to prefer a meat-rich diet. They're not just being picky. They're following their instincts, seeking out the foods that will provide them with the nutrients they need to stay healthy. So their carnivorous nature and lack of certain taste receptors make them lean towards a meat-rich diet. And that, in a nutshell, is the science behind why your feline friend might be a little more discerning when it comes to dinner time. Cats rely heavily on their sense of smell when it comes to food. This statement may not come as a surprise to many, but the extent to which our feline friends depend on their olfactory senses is truly fascinating. Imagine for a moment that you're a cat. The world is a smorgasbord of scents, each one telling its own story. The scent of a mouse in the next yard, the whiff of a new brand of cat litter, the aroma of a blooming flower, and most importantly, the smell of food. For a cat, the aroma of a meal is not just about identifying what's edible. It's about deciphering the quality, freshness, and even the temperature of the food. Cats are natural carnivores and their noses are finely tuned to detect the sense of fresh meat. This means if a food doesn't smell right to them, they are more likely to turn their noses up at it. It's not just about being picky, it's about survival. In the wild, eating spoiled meat could mean illness or even death. Therefore, a cat's sense of smell acts as a first line of defense against potentially harmful food. Now, let's talk about temperature. The temperature of a cat's food can greatly affect its aroma. Have you ever noticed how the scent of a meal can change as it cools down or heats up? The same principle applies to a cat's food. Cats prefer their food at room temperature, not too hot, not too cold, but just right. This is because room temperature food tends to have a stronger aroma, making it more appealing to our feline friends. So the next time you see your cat sniffing their food before eating, know that they're not just being fussy. They're using their sophisticated sense of smell to assess the quality, freshness, and temperature of their meal. They're ensuring that what they're about to consume is safe and satisfying. Remember, for our feline friends, if it doesn't pass the sniff test, it's not going in their bowl. Cats don't just care about how their food smells, but also how it feels. Now, let's delve into the fascinating world of feline gastronomy and see how texture plays a key role in our cats' dining preferences. Just like us, cats have preferences when it comes to the texture of their food. It's not merely about the taste or aroma, the way it feels in their mouths is equally important. And it's here that we uncover another layer of their picky eating habits. You see, Cats are carnivores by nature. Their ancestors in the wild used to hunt for food, and their prey of choice, small mammals like mice and birds. These animals have a particular texture, a combination of soft flesh, crunchy bones, and a little bit of rough fur or feathers. It's a sensory experience that domesticated cats still crave, even if they've never hunted a day in their lives. So when we serve them a bowl of food, they're not just assessing it based on smell or taste. They're feeling it out, trying to determine if it mimics the texture of their natural prey. If it does, they're more likely to chow down. If it doesn't, they might turn their noses up at it, no matter how delicious it smells or how nutritious it is. This is why some cats may prefer wet food over dry kibble. Wet food often has a texture that's closer to what a cat would experience eating a fresh kill. It's soft, it's juicy, and it feels more natural to them. On the other hand, if a cat is used to dry food and suddenly gets served a can of wet food, they could reject it outright. The change in texture is too drastic, too unfamiliar. It's like serving a sushi lover a plate of fried fish and expecting them to enjoy it in the same way. So, the next time you're puzzled by your cat's refusal to eat what you've lovingly prepared, remember, it's not just about the smell or the taste. The texture could be the missing piece of the puzzle. And who knows? A mouse-like meal might just be your cat's cup of tea. Cats' picky eating isn't just about biology, but behavior too. Now let's delve into another fascinating aspect of our feline friends' finicky feasting habits. Their neophobia. This term might sound like it's straight out of a sci-fi novel, but it's actually a very common behavior in cats. Neophobia, simply put, is the fear of anything new or unfamiliar. When it comes to their meals, cats often exhibit this neophobia, making them suspicious of new foods introduced into their diet. It's like they have a built-in alarm system that rings loud and clear whenever they detect a change in their usual fare. This alarm system can make them incredibly wary, even if the change is as minor as a different brand of their favorite tuna. Now you might ask, why are cats so averse to change when it comes to their food? Well, it's all tied to their survival instincts. In the wild, straying from the known and tested could mean ingesting something harmful or even deadly. So by sticking with what they know, cats are essentially playing it safe. This doesn't mean that cats can't be introduced to new foods though. It just means that the process needs to be slow and gradual, making sure that they have enough time to adjust. So if you're thinking of switching your kitty's kibble, remember that patience is key. And it's not just about new foods. Cats also have a strong sense of territory and routine. They like to eat in the same place and at the same time every day. Any changes to this routine can stress them out and make them turn their nose up at their meals. So it's clear that cats' picky eating habits are not just about taste or texture. It's also about a deep-seated instinct to stick with what's familiar and safe. In the world of cats, familiarity truly breeds contentment. So, we've learned quite a bit about why cats are such picky eaters. Let's take a moment to recap. Cats, being obligate carnivores, have a unique dietary requirement that heavily influences their food choices. They need a diet high in protein, which is why they often reject foods that don't meet this criterion. Then we delved into the sensory influences on their eating habits. Cats rely heavily on their sense of smell to determine if a food is palatable. If something doesn't smell right, they're likely to turn their nose up at it. We also talked about the role of texture. Cats prefer foods that mimic the textures they encounter in the wild, such as the crunch of bones or the softness of fresh meat. Lastly, we discussed behavioral factors. Cats are creatures of habit, and any change in their routine can disrupt their eating patterns. Next time your cat turns up its nose at dinner, remember it's not being difficult, it's just being a cat.